Somebody give me a link so I can share.
Gotta go on the channel. Mic is on.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us on Thursdays with Onika. We're joining me. The us would be those folks who are here as well, helping with the tech. Glad to have you back, glad to be back here. And the topic today, I think, is really exciting. I have lots and lots to share with you, including some tips and I would say tricks, as techniques that may help if you are in this situation of having to tolerate sex that's not so exciting, sex that's boring. All right, so because I have quite a bit to share with you, I am going to jump straight into my presentation. It may take perhaps 45 minutes or the hour, maybe less, but I would address any questions and comments at the end of the presentation. All right, so have those written down. If you need to go grab paper and pencil so that you have that with you and you can jot down points or questions or comments, so we can get back to that at the end of the session. And that pencil and pen and paper may also be useful to write down some tips and techniques that I'm going to suggest and the names of websites that I'm going to refer you to that would help in your journey towards having exciting and great sex. So let's get right into it. All right. So, what do you do when the sex is boring? So this is about rekindling intimacy and eroticism for long-term relationships. And notice that I use long-term and not married couples. They're people who've been together, not officially married, and I'm talking also outside of the heterosexual situation, so same-sex couples, anyone who's been living together and you've had the same partner or same partners for an extended period of time, and over time, you find it's not as spicy and as exciting, and you're probably not doing it as often as in the beginning of the relationships. Yes, so let's go. Let's get started. All right, so scenario that I'm going to share with you. You've been together a few years now, living together or maybe married. The workday starts at 5 a.m. when you get up and get ready to beat the traffic. So you could tell this is pre-COVID, right? Just go with me and imagine what it was like then. The children need to be looked after, the tasks and the chores need to be taken care of. And then you make it home later, rumpled and maybe cranky from rush hour traffic, more chores at home. Then it's late at night and you're in bed. And the body next to you is pushing gentle snores, is at perfect rest, radiating a comfortable warmth. You sigh, stoops maybe, suck your teeth, and then you wonder, why does good sex so often fade, even for couples who continue to love each other deeply? And why does good intimacy not guarantee good sex? And I want to pause here and talk a little bit about intimacy and what I mean when I say intimacy. And I like to play with the syllables in that word, in to me see. So your ability to be open and honest and vulnerable with a partner and still feel safe, secure, grounded, and loved. All right, so let's work with that definition of intimacy. Does family life, having children, mean a dulled passion and the end of erotic desire? Has sex become a chore for you, or are you the one who feels that you're not getting your fair share? If any of this sounds like you're in the right place at this time. So, welcome to family life. It doesn't mean that you're doomed to an existence of dull, routine, obligation sex, if the sex still happening. But you are now faced with the challenge of sustaining the passion in a long-term relationship. So this is not something strange. This is not something only you have to deal with. This is something that is a human experience, regardless of culture, regardless of where you are in the world. Long-term couples, long-term relationships always have this challenge because relationships take work. Right? It's not a one and done. It is a series of conversations, a series of negotiations that happen over time because our needs change, our bodies change, our situations change. And therefore, we need to shift things and shift the way we do things and the way we think about our erotic lives in order to accommodate the dynamic things that happen as life goes by. Right? So, like I said, common and normal challenge to have. Couples all over the world who have been together for a while often complain that the sex has gotten stale or boring. Those are words I've actually heard couples and people say to me. And they want tips and tools, new ways to spice it up. All right, let's get into the meat of the matter. I love this quote from Esther Pearl or Esther Pearl. I may not be pronouncing her surname correctly, but love this quote from her. I'm going to read it through. You can follow along with me. At the heart of sustaining desire in a committed relationship is the reconciliation of two fundamental human needs. On the one hand, our need for security, for predictability, for safety, for dependability, for reliability, for permanence. All those anchoring, grounding experiences of our lives that we call home. It is how we feel safe. It's one way in which we feel safe. But we also have an equally strong need, men and women, for adventure, for novelty, for mystery, for risk, for danger, for the unknown, for the unexpected surprise. From Esther Pearl, sex therapist. And so, based on this, you're going to recognize that while you have built a relationship that is stable over time, it's predictable, you feel safe, and there is value in that. That is something that we need. At the same time, as human beings, in order to continue to enjoy life, we need it to have these surprises, these novelties, the things that make us think beyond the ordinary and keep us interested in each other. So, what are the issues? What perhaps may be causing the sex to become stale and boring over time? And also, let me lay this down before I continue. A lot of the material, sometimes the images that I'll be sharing with you, they don't always cater for anyone outside of a heterosexual couple, so apologies for that. The material tells us to catch up with the fact that there's this wide variety and has always been a wide variety and diversity in human relationships. So bear that in mind, not discriminating and leaving out anyone. So whoever is looking on right now, take what I'm suggesting to you as something that applies to all kinds of couples and all kinds of relationships. All right, so let's go. Relationship conflicts and challenges. Nobody is excited to have sex with someone that they had an argument with, that they vex with, that annoys them, someone with whom they don't feel appreciated and valued. That is not an exciting thing, okay? And so if within your relationship there are conflicts and there are challenges, there are unresolved issues, sex may not be happening very often. And when it does happen, it just feels like it's an obligation. I'm married, or this is my spouse or partner for so many years, and they're supposed to get something. I mean, it's supposed to be part of the agreement or the expectations that comes with long-term relationships or with married life. if you have a situation where there are arguments all the time, where a partner doesn't feel as if they can really trust and be vulnerable, or they can't say what they want, or they can't perhaps critique a particular way that their partner treats them during sex, you're going to find they shut down and they shut off. So you need to look at what's happening in the relationship, what conflicts there are, what challenges there are, and find ways to address those and resolve those. Now, that is not me. I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm not a relationship therapist. There are some basic things that I can do with couples when it comes to relationships in terms of negotiating. But if there are deep-seated issues that have been going on for a long time, then that's something you really need to get support and help to work through. And you'll find sometimes that when you work on those relationship issues and challenges, you may not even need a sex professional to help. Sometimes the sex kind of fixes itself because the relationship issues have been resolved, and therefore partners are now more they feel more intimate, they feel closer to each other, they are more likely to be open, they're more likely to be vulnerable with each other and work out and negotiate what they need, right? And so fixing the relationship conflicts and challenges sometimes means that the sex automatically gets better and improves. Of course, it may still just be quote unquote regular sex and you want to do exciting things. You may then need the help, support, guidance of a trained sex professional who could help you go beyond ordinary. That sounds familiar. That's the Tobago thing, Kevin. Yeah. Right. Okay. So beyond ordinary. Anywho, moving right along. The next challenge that contributes or can contribute to having dull, stale, boring sex, and a definite reduction in the frequency would be something like lifestyle change. So when I say a lifestyle change, these are some major changes that can impact how frequently you're having sex and how exciting the sex is. New baby in the house, not just mommy, both parents are tired. For those of you who have had children, who remember those early days of having to get up all hours of the night and take care of baby, and you still have to go to work, that really is a lot to manage, lots of emotions, lots of energy for this new human being that is demanding a lot of you. And so new baby coming into the home, or now you have two or three children, and so you have a lot more responsibilities to look after. You may have had a promotion, so like new job or more work responsibilities that's taking you out of home more, or is demanding more of your time and energy. And so you're coming home just frazzled and tired, and then you're coming home and you still have the chores to do at home and all these issues and tasks and responsibilities. So lifestyle changes like those are going to impact really just how much energy and time you have for sex. And I want to point out here that there are some people who deal with stress by looking for more sex. There's still like a limit for that. There's only so much. There's only so much that can help. All right. So lifestyle changes. So take a look at what's happened in your life with your partner from the early days when you couldn't keep your hands off each other. The sex was frequent. The sex was hot. It was passionate. You couldn't wait to get together with your partner. And think about and track the changes that have taken place in your life since then. Note the lifestyle changes, the major ones and the minor ones. They're going to all add up. And take a look and honestly assess what's happening in terms of your relationship and where it's at and how intimate you still are. Intimacy, your vulnerability with each other, your comfort in talking to each other about your issues and finding ways to resolve those issues. And then we have body image issues. Now, body image issues tend to be more common with women, especially post-pregnancy and post-childbirth, when women are still very uncomfortable with their bodies have changed, it's not the same, and in their minds they're just not as sexy looking, and often they think that their partners don't still find them attractive, and so they are not going to be comfortable engaging the same kind of sex or sex as frequently compared to before pregnancy and before childbirth. Serious doubts and self-esteem issues are coming up in terms of body image, and sometimes the spouse, reassuring them isn't enough. They need to come to a point where they accept and love, and if not love, at least respect the new bodies that they have, and the changes that have taken place in their bodies post-pregnancy and post-childbirth. And then there are also the issues of simply gaining weight over time, or gaining weight as we've gotten older, or gaining weight because you're now on a particular kind of medication. The medication is causing some weight gain. I know lots of us also right now have some COVID fat. That's a thing. And so changing body image, the weight gain, that can affect both men and women. Simply not feeling comfortable being naked, not feeling comfortable that their bodies are acceptable and still attractive to their partners because of some change. Weight, or perhaps they've had surgery, perhaps they have had some kind of medical treatment, like for example cancer treatment, and bodies have also changed. So for those who are undergoing special medical treatment and there's hair loss, they may have had an operation and there are now scars. All of those things are going to affect how comfortable they feel being naked and how sexy they feel because of the new bodies that they are now walking around in. So getting comfortable in your skin, again, is critical to allowing yourself to be vulnerable and believing that you are still, attractive and sexy. And I like to remind people that no matter the size of your body or the shape or condition it's in, bodies can give pleasure and bodies can receive pleasure. Focus more on sensations and what you're feeling rather than appearance. Right? That's a quick tip right there. Sometimes it does help to keep the lights off or keep the lights dim so you're not focused on, I wonder if he sees mascara, I wonder if she noticed. You know what I mean? Because once you get into your head, once you begin to try to assess, and you're spectating. You're not really in the moment. You're not enjoying the sensation. You're spectating. And so you're disconnected from the activity, disconnected from yourself, disconnected from your partner. All right? So these are the three major or main issues that would impact the quality of sex. All right? And also the quantity. So how do you get your groove back? Right? And I want to say this. And I thought I'd write it out so you can read it and internalize this, right? First, let me say that if you and your partner are happy, that should be with your current status, even if sex is as rare as an honest politician, then you don't have a problem. In other words, if sex once a month works for you and sex once a month works for your partner, you don't have a problem. Nobody's complaining because that is what satisfies all parties involved. It only becomes a problem if we have what we call mismatched desires, where one person wants to engage in sex more often than the other. I've literally had couples in my office, and you ask them the question, so how many times a week having sex? How many times do you want to have sex per week? And somebody says, well, 3 times. And somebody else was like, what? So little? And somebody else will say, what? So much? So there needs to be some kind of negotiation. And that is a situation where you have a problem. But if you say once a month or once every 2 months, and you're like, all right, yeah, that sounds reasonable. The other person says, yeah, that sounds reasonable to me too. There is no problem. All right, cool. So let's talk about rekindling intimacy, which is really, really important when you have unresolved relationship issues, if there are underlying trust issues, and if you've never really established a comfort with talking about sex, with asking for the kind of sex you want, for the kind of touch that you want, or for the frequency. And a lot of times people don't ask because they're afraid of being judged. So if I tell my partner that I want to try out some handcuffs and whips, they might watch me funny and ask all kinds of questions. And so that is part of the challenge, that fear of being judged. And so working on intimacy and rekindling intimacy, if it was once there, is something that is critical that you need to work on. All right, if y'all saw that dim, that's my light. That's my light misbehaving. All right, let's hope it doesn't do that again. All right, so first tip. Enhance your love maps. What do I mean by love maps? So storing and updating information about important events, ideas, and feelings. Do you know what your partner's favorite color or colors are? Do you know the important dates, like not just the anniversaries, but perhaps the day your partner graduated, with their degree? Do you know their favorite place to shop? Do you know the size clothing they wear? Do you know who their hairdresser is? Do you know who the barber is? Do you know what his favorite sports team is, or who his favorite athletes are? Things like that. These are important bits of information, I'll call it data, for your love map that you want to remember, so that you can surprise your partner with gifts, or that you can take them to see a game, or or that you can help them commemorate a moment, or when you're buying them a gift, okay, I should buy it in this color or in these sizes. So that points out that you're paying attention and that you're showing appreciation and that you care about what brings them joy and what brings them pleasure. So enhance your love maps. All right, so that's the first thing to take note of. Find out these things and put together your quote unquote database. And over time, some of these things may change. So you have to keep not just enhancing it and adding more data as you learn more about your partner, but updating it as time goes by and things change. All right. Next tip, you want to nurture your fondness and admiration. So each day, you want to try and identify at least one thing that you are grateful to your partner for. Make that a habit, make that a routine. Are you grateful? And you want to say it or write them a note. Oh, and as I say that, I'm remembering that it's also important to understand your partner's love language. So you can actually go online, 5lovelanguages.com, I think. And there's some quizzes online. You can both go and do the quiz. It's free to do, so there's no cost, and they will email you your results. It is really, really helpful to understand how your partner feels loved. What do they need in order to feel loved and appreciated? So for some people, it's words of affirmation. Some people say, I don't care what you do. I want to hear you say these words. And there are some people, I don't care what you're saying. I want to see action. So for them, it's acts of service. There are folks who need that physical touch. Their skin hunger needs are more than usual, so they need to be hugged and held and cuddled. And then you have folks who, gosh, what's the other one? There's love. The list is acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch. What are the others? Gifts. Receiving gifts. So there are some folks who they feel most appreciated when they receive gifts. And there's one more, it escapes me right now, can't remember. But all of them are on the site, and there's an explanation for how you enact, how you embody, how do you express those love languages. And I want to point out too, applying this principle or this knowledge outside of a romantic relationship is also very helpful. So begin to notice how your children want to be loved. Your children have their own love languages. So as a parent, it's also useful and helpful to notice that this child likes quality time. That was the fifth one. And I remember because, I know the difference between my sons. One loves quality time. We will spend hours and hours talking. My other son, I literally have to call his assistant and book an appointment because he's not about the time. He's always busy. But words of affirmation are really, really important to him. And so even as a parent, even maybe as an employer or co-worker, noticing what people's needs are around how they feel loved and how they feel appreciated. So using love languages goes beyond romantic and erotic relationships. Right. Turn towards each other instead of away. In other words, try to find ways to stay connected, have conversations, ask questions. So you don't want to ignore your partner. Even if you've had an argument, you still want to let them know, I care and I'm concerned. So turn towards each other instead of away. Try to stay connected at whatever level that you can. Let your partner influence you. So please, don't take this overboard. We're not talking here about, you have made a decision and they come in and they say, nah, do something completely different, and you just do a complete 180-degree turn. I'm not saying that. What I'm suggesting is that you include them in your decision-making process. And let them understand, hey, it's not that I am going to just take what you say exactly as it is, but I want to know how it may affect you. So even if I continue going down the road that I'm going, I may make adjustments so that it doesn't affect you in a particular kind of way, now that I understand what your concerns are. So let your partner influence you. Try to include them in your decision-making process whenever it makes sense, or because you know that these things that you are doing or that you're deciding on may have an impact on them, or they may just be interested, right? So let your partner influence you and try to include them in your decision-making process. Solve your solvable problems using these steps. So solvable problems. I use this term because, quite frankly, some problems cannot be solved. There is such a thing as having a good, clean breakup, because you both have different goals. There's so many things that that's not compatible with both of you, and it really becomes painful to try to hold on to something that's not working. It doesn't serve them. It doesn't serve you. So be very clear on what problems can be solved. And for the ones that can't be solved, is it that you are willing or able to tolerate them, or that they don't have an issue? In other words, what are the deal breakers? What are the things that, definitely this is my boundary, I'm not willing to go beyond this, or this here, I can barely tolerate it and it's burning me up inside and it's draining my energy. And that's one way of testing how a problem or issue affects you. Does it drain your energy to think about it? Does it take away your ability or the ease with which you can be creative in terms of solving the issue? Is it stressful? And if your partner is not willing to go to some kind of counseling or some kind of therapy, then what's the point? What is it are you trying to get out of the relationship that requires you sacrifice yourself, that you sacrifice your well-being, your mental health, your emotional well-being? There's no way any of that is going to lead to good sex. Good sex, we're not even talking great and beyond ordinary, but good sex requires that there is a connection that feels good with you and your partner, that there is a deep trust and an ability to completely let go during a sexual encounter. It means that you can try new things, that you're open to discussing what worked well and what didn't work well. And there's also a sense of humor, when things don't go quite right, or the bed break, or somebody fall off the bed, or the male partner loses his erection. And you can still continue with pleasurable activities, because, like I said last week, great sex or good sex does not require an erect penis. Yeah? Doesn't require an erect penis. Just skills and knowing how to work the other parts of the body. Right? So, yes, solve your solvable problems. So let me actually get into these steps now. So and these are just basic tips. Once again, note, I am not I'm all about the sex. I'm not a relationship counselor or therapist. All right. So if these are long-standing issues and they're rooted in the past, and they're rooted in things that you haven't quite forgiven, or you haven't quite learned how to cope well with, see somebody who can help. All right. Right. Skills. sex is both a science and an art. Sex is natural and it also requires some skill. Okay? So learn new techniques. And this is especially important because bodies don't always want the same thing every day. And they certainly will not always like the same things as we get older, as we go through certain kinds of experiences. So even something like being on medication, certain medications really decrease sexual desire. So for persons who are on like antidepressants, those things affect desire. And so you're going to need to find ways to work around that, which means learning new techniques and figuring out what it takes now or how much longer it takes to get a partner to the point of feeling aroused and wanting to have sex. Different ways of stimulating the body. All right, so this is basic. Learn new techniques. Knowledge. This is key and this is critical. Learn about the body and about sexuality. You need to know how your body works, where your particular erogenous zones are. You need to understand, okay, so if I am in this position, this part of the body can get stimulated at the same time as another part of the body. You need to understand this is what the clitoris does. You need to understand this is how you can, these are the parts of the penis that are most sensitive, and these are the ways that I can stimulate these parts. Right? So learn anatomy. Understand the physiology of your sexual and reproductive system. Learn how it works, and you work with that. All right? And everybody is going to be different. There is no one size fits all when it comes to techniques, and even having basic knowledge of how the body works doesn't mean that everybody's body works exactly that way. All right? But there are basics that you should know. And once you understand how it works, you know how to work with it, how to work around challenges that may come up, especially if you've had surgery or injury or things like that. Plan or schedule sexy time. Now, I grew up hearing people talk about, the sex had to be spontaneous. Apparently it's more magical when, it just happens. And so, people would tend to be put off when you say, well, okay, plan days for sex, plan and schedule it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with planning and scheduling your sexual activity. In fact, it is the planning and the anticipation that can add a really great build-up to the event itself. So, let's say, for example, all right, every Friday afternoon at 6 p.m., we're going to, take some time out. We're not going to go home right after work. We're going to meet up at a particular place. I'm not going to call any names. Meet up at a particular place, and we're going to spend an hour and a half in our pleasure. You may decide, okay, what do we want to try this Friday? So you're planning your outfit, maybe what you're going to eat, so where you're going to stop off and buy dinner or lunch if it's a lunchtime getaway. You're going to plan techniques and skills that you want to try out and test. There is a lot of build-up of desire. And so there's a lot of room for a lot of magic and excitement to come out of planning and scheduling sex. And this also means that you're giving it priority in your life. You are recognizing that this eroticism, this sexy time is part of maintaining not just the intimacy with your partner, but also a sense of well-being. Like I always say, and I think I said this last week, pleasure is healing. Sexual energy is healing. And we can get into that at another session where we talk about why I say that and how it can be healing. And I'm literally talking about healing on different levels in terms of the chemicals that your body produces during sexual activity, as well as that connection with a partner and what's happening with you mentally and emotionally because of that connection. So plan and schedule your sexy time. Make it a priority, just as you plan to, so I need to go to the bank this day, I need to go get groceries on Thursday. Put it in your schedule, prioritize it. All right? And the anticipation and the excitement of building up and planning for that day can actually make it even more exciting and even more pleasurable than the on the spur of the moment spontaneous sex that may happen at home. All right? Right. And that was the response to that. This is something else you need to consider. What will you do if you get stuck or if you relapse? So, what is plan B if you find that you've started on this journey towards doing all these exciting things and then life gets busy again, somebody gets ill, and so you just forget about scheduling, that course you were supposed to do online to learn this new skill, that subscription you were supposed to sign up for so you could get these videos that you and your partner could look at together, you didn't do because it just didn't quite fit in your budget. When you get stuck or when you relapse into the old habits, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix that? This is part of the commitment that is needed in order to continue working on that magic, on that dynamism, and having that spark and that creativity that you need in order to revitalize that eroticism in your life. All right, so it's not just about, okay, we start and we fall off the train. No, you need to have a plan for what you're going to do if you find you get stuck or that if you've relapsed. All right, so that was intimacy, intimacy, being open and vulnerable and honest with the partner and still being able to feel safe, secure, and loved. Foundational things, relationship things, your lifestyle changes, all the things that may cause you to become disconnected and not have enough communication happening around what you would like to do or around your grief or your grieving around the loss of the eroticism and sex happening in your life. So let's get into eroticism. And then, it's interesting to me that I chose to use this term eroticism and not, rekindling your sex life. For many of us in the field, there's a difference for us between what is erotic and what is sexual. And the best way that I can explain the difference, and this is based on work by Esther Pearl or Esther Pearl. Gosh, Esther, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. In which she points out sex is that biological drive or that biological need. Animals have sex, human beings have sex. Eroticism is how we transform sex into something that is meaningful, into something that involves our imagination and our creativity. And I think I have a quote here that should be the next slide. So when I say eroticism, right? So, and this is kind of my own mishmash of meanings that I have gleaned from what others have said. So eroticism isn't sex. It's sexuality given meaning and purpose and transformed by the human imagination. It's the thoughts, meanings, dreams, anticipation, uncontrollable impulses, and even painful memories which make up our vast pleasure landscapes. It is what makes sex satisfying. And critical to eroticism are playfulness, curiosity, and creativity. All right? All of a sudden, just based on this, I love this definition. Sex becomes so much more than genital behavior. Has so much more meaning, and definitely is not going to be boring if you're including all these elements in how you're approaching, how you are transforming the act into something that has meaning and purpose. All right? Okay, so let's get into this eroticism and how we rekindle it in our relationships. Right. characteristics that you need. These are attitudes you need to have, ways of being, ways of thinking perhaps, that you need in order to rekindle, or even for those of you who haven't been in any serious relationship, but you want to start off on the right foot. These are things that you need to consider. So awareness. You need to be aware of your thoughts, your feelings, and your fantasies. What do you believe about sex, or how, quote unquote, should sex be done? Are you aware of any particular attitudes you have about how men or women, and those who fit into neither category, how they're supposed to behave during the sex act? Are there certain positions, certain kinds of sexual activities that's off limits for you? Where are your boundaries? And are you aware of those? So being very aware of your beliefs, your thoughts, your attitudes, and your fantasies, the kind of great sex that you can imagine, so that this is what I'm going to share with a partner. This is what I'd like to achieve. This is what I'd like to experience. So being aware of those, being very connected to what comes up for you when you see particular images, when you hear particular things about sex, and when you look at a movie, etc. Or when you hear people talk about sex, and perhaps even what your partner might have requested or what they did during a sex act. Are you aware of how you really feel about that? What your thoughts are, and what are you fantasizing about what great sex looks like for you? This is also critical. Openness. Openness to experimenting with erotic scenes and techniques. What are you willing to try? Just a little bit. So I'm not asking you to go from regular old vanilla missionary position sex, and going into a dungeon somewhere and being chained to a wall, and the whips. Why am I stuck on whips? Whips and the handcuffs and the chains. And full costume and chain around your neck. I'm not asking that you make that huge leap, but being open to trying other things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone, and out of your comfort zone in a space where you're being pushed a little bit, you have a little bit of stress, but you don't feel unsafe. So you need to check in with yourself and make sure that, okay, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. This is not something that feels easy, but I am not feeling unsafe. I'm not feeling scared. So being open to experimenting, open to trying new techniques, and that could be, bit by bit. It may look like, for example, using a blindfold. You wearing the blindfold, or your partner wearing a blindfold. It may be as simple as, let's include food in our sexual activities. Yeah, so sharing food with each other, passing it mouth to mouth. So like I'm on one end of whatever food it says, you're on the other end, and we're eating it until lips meet, things like that. So being creative, and trying different things in baby steps. It doesn't have to be giant leaps. You can start with baby steps. Connectivity. So noticing, being able to sense and to feel what your partner might be going through, even if they don't say it, and of course touching, teasing, and seduction. That kind of dance with your partner, of being in tune with them, staying connected to what their needs are, how their moods might be changing, noticing how they're responding during foreplay, during sex, and of course after play. After play is a thing. Okay. So staying in tune and in touch with what's happening in your immediate environment with your partner and yourself, and the dynamics between the both of you. So those are the characteristics. Let's get into now embodying it, the doing, the action. So if I am aware and I am connected and I'm open, what do I now do to show those things? How do I embody that? So first one, discover or rediscover. Like I said, bodies change, needs change. So it may be a rediscovery discover or rediscover yourself and your partner at multiple levels. So at one point in your life, you may not have enjoyed or liked or even considered doing certain things, or eating certain foods, or wearing lingerie, or wearing certain kinds of lingerie, or running off on a weekend somewhere, a guest house, to be with your partner for a few hours. What now do you feel that you're open enough to try, that you feel that you have the courage to try? Discovering the new erogenous zones on your body. So there is this wonderful, wonderful activity that we have called the extragenital matrix. Who were the creators of that? Ooh, don't remember, but you can probably Google that. The extragenital matrix. So there's this nice worksheet in which you have body part on the axis, body parts on the vertical, horizontal, and you are bringing body part to body part to test out and figure out what feels good. So it may be like, okay, rubbing your nose behind your partner's ear. It may be something like lips on shoulder. It may be something like tongue on butt cheek, right? And so you are taking your time, going over every nook and cranny and crevice and hills and valleys on your partner's body, on each other's bodies. And there doesn't have to be the intention of engaging in sex after that or because of that. In fact, that's not the point at all. The point is, of course, discover and rediscover. All right? Yourself and your partner. Wonderful activities to do. And of course, there are other activities like quizzes that would explore your emotions around certain activities. I would explore, once again, your thoughts and your feelings about certain kinds of sexual activities, right? So that awareness, there are exercises that help with getting you aware and in touch with, things you may not even like to tell yourself out loud because you're afraid you'll be judged. You might even be judging yourself. So, if you're working with a professional, a mental health professional or a sexuality professional, this is one of the things that they would help you do. They give you these tools and these exercises to discover and rediscover yourself and your partner. A commitment. Making a commitment to pleasure and making sex a priority. Now, see that last part? So because we've had so much shame and guilt and fear around sex and sexuality, when you tell someone or you talk about making sex a priority, there are people who are like, well, that is not so important. Like, what kind of pervert are you? Like, why you want to make sex a priority? You had to have sex. You can't do without that. Those kind of attitudes and beliefs. And once again, it's because we do not understand that sex is an essential and vibrant part of who we are. That a good and healthy sex life contributes and adds to a sense of mental and emotional well-being. And I also want to talk about how regular sexual activity actually contributes to a part of your physical health and well-being, especially when it comes to your pelvic floor. Most women, a lot of the women who I work with, whether it's students or clients, are often surprised when I say, if you don't use it, you lose it. Meaning, engaging in sex exercises muscles in the pelvic region. Your pelvic floor muscles, like any other muscle, when they're not exercised, when they're not nourished because blood isn't going to them, just like any other muscle, and don't look at my flabby muscles, any other muscle, they begin to sag, right? And so if you can picture that you have, are they seeing me? Am I in the right? Good. So yes, I want to make sure you're seeing what I'm trying to demonstrate. So let's say you have this floor of muscles in your pelvic area, your hip area, and if these muscles, and there are groups of muscles that are connected, if they are not exercised, just like any other muscle in the body, they can, sag. Yeah? So when they sag and they become weak, the organs on top that they hold in place also don't have support. One of the organs for which that is critical is your bladder. It is why when women get into their 40s or even after childbirth, that when you cough, you sneeze, you jump, you run, you begin to leak. You begin to leak urine. Those pelvic floor muscles are not, they're not strong and flexible. Same thing happens with men as they get older. Right? If they are not finding ways to exercise that pelvic floor, it's no longer holding up and supporting specific organs, and it's most noticeable with the bladder because you begin to leak urine. It's why sometimes we notice that older folks, senior folks, if they're out and about town doing their business and it's really hot and humid, you may pick up that smell. That smells like stale urine. I'm not trying to be gross. I'm just, helping you identify what may be going on with that person. It's because, their pelvic floor, they may have an issue. I'm not a medical person. They may be having an issue with pelvic floor muscles and, their bladder is leaking. So I have actually worked with a few female clients to help them understand how the pelvic floor works and do some exercises and completely reverse that. Completely reverse it within a few weeks. Right, so there are exercises for the pelvic floor that help with that. So that's one thing to remember in terms of the physical benefits for engaging those muscles. Now, of course, there are other ways to engage those muscles, and I'm saying this for those who are part of religious communities where your aim is to avoid sex until marriage, etc. But you need to find a way to get those muscles exercised and nourished. And so there are things like PC muscle exercises or using weights for the vagina or, what we call Kegel exercises or Benoit balls and other exercises that are in other objects, that have weight that's inserted into the vagina, and yoni eggs. Yoni eggs are a thing. Yeah, yoni eggs are a thing. Right. So, right. In addition to that, your vaginal passage is good, and this came out of commitment to making sex a priority. But I'm just pointing out that it's not just about a feeling or a thought or trying not to be perverted, but there are physical consequences for not taking care of that part of your body. And once again, for women, that your vaginal passage is a tunnel of muscle, and like other muscles in the body, when they're not exercised, when they're not used, they get weak and they sag. So imagine you have a tunnel, of muscle, and it gets weak and it collapses, and so they collapse on themselves. And so when you go to that gynecologist to insert that speculum to get your exam, it can be hella painful. And so finding a way to keep those muscles exercised and strong and flexible is critical if you intend to engage in any kind of sexual activity as you get older. All right, that's something to remember. I have heard some really sad stories for, these women who are trying to maintain that abstinence and abstain from sex. That's fine. But nobody told them that these are the consequences if you are abstaining and you're not taking care of your pelvic floor health, if you're not taking care of your sexual organs. Nobody said anything, probably because they didn't know, because they didn't get the training. That's a whole other story. And so they wait and they have this discipline and they're proud of themselves. They did the right thing, get into a relationship, and all hell breaks loose because now they can't engage in sex without pain. And now they have to go check with a gynecologist or a professional to see if they can figure out, why am I having this pain? Why isn't penetration possible? And for younger women who've waited and who weren't taught how to take care of themselves while they wait and they get into a marriage situation, vaginismus is often an outcome. The vagina this time is not that the muscles are collapsed or weak. It is that the vagina shuts down because it's thinking, no, you've embodied no all this time, so sex is danger, you stay away. And so they have to go through weeks or even months of treatment in order to get their mind and heart and body in alignment so that the vaginal muscles cooperate with them. So it's a real thing, folks. It's a real thing. Yeah. Let's get through this. How much time have I been talking? I want to make sure I try to stay within my hour. I have 5 more minutes. Okay, let's get through this. All right. Right. Create a sexual menu. I promise. In the next 5 minutes, I'll get to the end. But if you're willing to wait another 5-10 minutes, I've got some bonus shares for you. All right, so good. So create a sexual menu. You want to have an array of choices that you could say yes, no, maybe, okay, we have to adjust this one, so that it's always fresh. That every week, if you decide to have a weekly schedule for sex, maybe that works for you. That there's something, you're not going to come up on the same thing for several weeks because you have this huge menu of activities. This is an example of, we're getting into tips and techniques now. This is an example of what's called a play sheet. It's actually the kinds of questions that might be on a handout or a form that we would use when we're working with couples to figure out what they like. So we'll ask questions like, how well do you know your sexual self? Like, how well do you recognize what time of the month feels really, for women especially, it feels really arousing for you when your sexual desire is very high? Are there scents that turn you on? Certain kinds of touch on certain parts of your body? Do you know the pressure of touch that you like? Do you know what absolutely turns you off? How well do you know your sexual self? Questions like these. My best sexual moment with my partner was. So go back to those moments and figure out what made that moment so extra special. What was really good about it? Identify the elements that were present in that session, and so that all right, these are the elements that I need to create an environment that creates great sex for me. Was it where you were? Was it that you were away from family and it was really quiet? Was it that the person you felt really that you trusted them implicitly and you were able to let go? Was it that there was a lot of foreplay? Was it that there was particular music playing in the background, and particular sense in the space? What were the elements that you could recreate and play with to have that moment again? Complete the sentence. I like it when we. A conversation that you could have with your partner. So you have these partners filling out these exercises or these sheets, and they're going to exchange so they know what their partners are thinking. I like it when we. Complete the sentence. Because if they know what you like, right, I'm going to repeat that and give you that more often. Yeah? I wish we did, fill in the blanks, blank, 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 more. What do you want more of? Yeah? Partners can't read each other's minds. We have not evolved to that level as yet, as far as I know. Like women like to say, well, he's supposed to know. How? He not reading your mind. Yeah, is it that you've said it so many times and he's not paying attention? There are things you need to be very explicit and very clear about. All right? And of course, you need to set your boundaries. I orgasm best when. What are the elements? What are the things that you need in your space? How do you need to feel in order to access or to receive, to experience orgasm easily? I wish I could tell my partner. And this is where things can get a little uncomfortable, especially what I've heard. It seems, in my experience, that men do find it difficult to accept that they have not done something well. They tend to shut down. When really, gentlemen who are watching, who have female partners, your partner is telling you what to do. You're getting instructions. You don't know her body. You're not in her body. Yeah? So you get the inside information on what to do. Why are you shutting down? This is where you celebrate. Yeah? Okay, great. And you follow instructions. Because this is her body. She knows how it works. She's not critiquing you. She's saying, step 1, step 2, step 3, or do A, do B, do C, and you do that. Satisfied partner. Pleasure for me is greatest when. when is pleasure greatest? What are all the things that need to happen for you to have really, really good pleasure? In regards to sex, I am most curious about. So this is where the open-mindedness is, and where you're going to be exploring what's possible. And what are you willing to do to make these things happen? What are you willing to do? It's not just going to happen. You need to connect to something I said before, a commitment to doing what needs to be done in order to maintain this very valuable and vitalizing part of your life. And we spoke about this already. What will you do if you get stuck or if you relapse when it comes to doing the eroticism activities? So, things you may find on a sexual menu. Mutual masturbation, so you're basically masturbating each other, telling each other sexy stories, trying new sex toys, taking a shower together, listening to erotica together, so audiobooks, playing with food, adding food, so pouring people like chocolate syrup or different kinds of food on your partner's body and eating and licking it off. Please do not put these things in the vagina. No sugar in the sugar bowl. Okay? No sweet things to go in there, please. No syrup, no honey, no. Right? It can encourage infection. So you can put it all over the other parts of the body. Only put specially designed lubricants into the vaginal area. Okay? You can probably stay on the outside, the vulva, the lips. You all know the difference, right? Yeah? But once you're playing with food, anything that has a high sugar content, anything that it has heavy oils, do not put them into the vagina, please. All right? Going to a sex club together, clearly this is pre-COVID. I don't know when this may even be possible at all, and figuring out your boundaries around this before you do something like that. Extended foreplay, adding afterplay, so have foreplay going on for a very long time. That tends to build the intensity. Naked time, that's not going to end in sex, so just spending time being naked together. Some people may have a challenge with this, but you can build your tolerance for extended periods of arousal. That's very beneficial, especially for the guys. Maybe you want to try sex outdoors. Role playing, exploring female ejaculation or semen retention. There are videos for these things, people. Yeah. I can't say that I know that this video or these instructions work for every single female who has tried, but there are instructional videos that teach you how to experience or how to have or how to do female ejaculation and how to have semen retention. For those of you who were on the call last week, I spoke about semen retention, in which men are training themselves to separate, because it's two different events, ejaculation and orgasm, so they can have either one or the other. And so men are also or can be multi-orgasmic. I know some couples who use semen retention as their birth control, right? Because he's not ejaculating. He can choose to ejaculate when he wants, but he's still having orgasms. And so they use that as a lovely way of, as a lovely form of contraception. Learning erotic massage, they have videos for this too. Oh my gosh, they have videos for this lovely, lovely thing to do. Showering together. Did I not have that already? Maybe. Sharing fantasies, anal play or anal massage. Some people are like, ooh, okay, we know that's your boundary, but hey, stay on the outside first. That's a whole other class by itself. Exploring your sensuality. So sounds. Some people are turned on by the moaning and the groaning and the dirty talk. Do you know what your dominant sense is? Is it more hearing? Do you like to hear music and sound and moaning and groaning and dirty talk? Are you more of a touch person? Are you playing with sensations? So maybe ice cubes and interchanging ice with something warm on different parts of the body, different textures. So maybe your satin sheets versus silk or cotton, what you're sleeping naked on those different types of fabric and how that feels on your skin. Sound, taste, touch, smell, so scents. You want scents in your room? Do you want them on your partner's body? All playing with your sensuality during sexual activity really heightens pleasure. right? And let's explore a few techniques. So hold on. Let's see. Right, reading erotica. I'm going to take you to a couple of websites that I want you to consider when you're looking for erotica. So let's see. Right, so this one, I'm going to have to zoom in. Or could I zoom into this? Let's see. Ooh, no. All right, but Literotica is one that you can explore where you can find different kinds of erotic material to read, and you can read to each other. Yeah, so Literotica is one site for that. There is this site here, erotica. These are erotic books, right? I think this is Inc. Do I have that website address? Could folks see the website address? Could you see? Okay, great. Just want to make sure. Right, this is another website that you can check out. Right, and then there is this one here. This is one of my favorites. This one has audio stories, yeah, and bite-sized stories. Like they are about like 10 minutes long, some are 15 minutes long, some are less, but you're hearing, it's like a movie, of course, without the visuals. So you're hearing traffic in the background, you're hearing footsteps, you're hearing everything that's happening with the characters. So if you want sexy audio stories that get you in the mood, this is a subscription though. I think you have to pay a subscription for this. But hey, worth a try. And then another one I want to share. This is oh my gosh, this site. So I want you to notice this text on the bottom, was that left of the video, the distilled wisdom of 20,000 women ages 18 to 95. This website, OMGYS, has, literally you can use the touchpad on your computer. So this is for guys and folks. So anybody who's interested in female sexual pleasure, this is the website to go to learn about it. And while you pay for access to it, it's not a subscription that you're paying every month. You just pay one fee and you have access to all this information. And so they have discovered all kinds of techniques as women have been exploring themselves, and you could actually use your touchpad, like I was saying, and there'll be this big vulva on the screen. And a woman would come, there's a video of a woman before, and she's saying, okay, this is the pattern I like, this is where you need to have pressure, and then the vulva comes up and you using your touchpad to try to repeat the pattern that she indicated in the different ways that she likes pressure, and you will hear her voice saying, good, or continue, oh wait, no, not quite, go a little faster, go a little slower. Yeah, what do you call that, Kevin? That's AI? Artificial intelligence, like what that is?
Haptic feedback.
Okay. Say again?
Haptic feedback.
Haptic feedback, right.
All links in description.
Okay.
All links for website in description.
Right, okay. So, you mean put up the links?
We will.
Yeah, right. We'll put up the links. You can tell I'm new at this, right? But, yeah, just work with me. Right. So, excellent website to check out. It really is fascinating and fantastic. What you're seeing below here, all these different practical techniques, hinting, signaling. Like I said last week, the body is a wonderland, right? So definitely do check these out. All right, let's see. Let's come back to home. Lovely. Let's go back to our presentation. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. An example of listening to your partner reading erotica. All right, so let's listen to my voice. Just pretend. Right? Ready? She remembered, would always remember those first impressions. The dark smoothness of his broad chest and shoulders, the stark jaw, the arched brows, his outstretched hand. Patience, kindness, a steady gaze, asking, not forcing. She had wanted to touch his skin, the parts uncovered by his vest and shorts, but also the parts underneath, wanted to run her fingertips along him, peel off his clothes, and fit herself into his lines and hard curves. But mostly, though, she desired to know what he would have done to her and what she could have done to him. I hope you all closed your eyes and took in the sultriness of my voice. Even if you did, you understand where I'm going with this, right? Reading each other erotic stories like this could be really, really exciting and encouraging. Spoon breathing. This is an actual physical technique. We're on the last few slides here. And this is more focused on that connectivity, on reconnecting and attuning your body to your partner. So this is something that you should do regularly. So even if you're at a stage where sex is just off the table, and sometimes sex should be off the table. Like sometimes you just need to start from ground zero. There's nothing, and it's normal to get into periods. Like I said before, it's normal to get into periods where sex is just not what you should be doing. All right. And if you're starting again and rebuilding that and rekindling, start with pleasure, start with reconnecting. So spoon breathing, I have a diagram, right? That kind of, where's my diagram? Did I have this diagram? Oh, okay. Diagram not there. Sorry about that, folks. Maybe it's coming after this. Probably coming after this. So people in relationships of any sort often move and act at different paces and in different rhythms. How often do you feel in harmony with your partner? Doing breathing exercises with your partner can increase your awareness of your own and his or her body rhythm. And yeah, come on, Anika. Right, so this is an example of, this is a diagram of what spoon breathing looks like. And of course, the woman could also be behind, so you don't necessarily have to, it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but you are staying in this position and simply noticing and getting into rhythm with each other, with the breathing, matching your breathing, listening to each other's, sensing each other's heartbeat and heart rate, etc. So that's one thing you can start doing tonight, folks. All right, Yabiyam, this is a particular position that comes from Tantra. I got this exercise from a book called Urban Tantra by Barbara Correas. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And in this position, the man sits cross-legged and the woman sits on his upper thighs. Or if it's a same-sex couple, you simply decide who's going to be on the bottom and who's going to be on top. And you're crossing, the person who's on top, crossing their ankles behind the person. Upright position, promoting alertness. You're aligning your energy centers, allowing you're also going to be breathing in each other's breath. Hygiene, people, hygiene. And so you're going to have that circular breathing happening and keeping in tune with each other. You can touch your brows together. You can gaze into each other's eyes. This is a very, very intimate act. But it's also a classic position for tantric sex. So for those of you who are interested in that connection of spirituality with sexuality, this is one area that you can explore, Tantra. Try to avoid the westernized version of Tantra. Look for teachers that have a lineage and they can trace their lineage and their teacher back to the original source for Tantra, right? And this looks like this, yeah? And it can be done with or without clothes. So this is the Yab-Yum position, all right? Negotiating and exploring. So the very last thing I want to share with you is this handout that we use with couples, where there's a list of things. You can actually use this to put together your sexual menu, or use something like this, where each person has their sheet, and you're ticking off the things that you want to do. The areas that have one circle are things that you're doing by yourself. It could be done by yourself, that maybe you want a partner to witness. And of course, the others are where you are choosing your position. Do you want to be giving or receiving? You want to be on the top or on the bottom? And I'm going to slowly go through this so you can read the different kinds of activities. And you can add your own to this sheet. You can add other options. So this is not written in stone and, like a strict rules that you can't break. This is like a starting point. This is a guide. Right? More things here. Notice what's on the list. See how many places tongues can go. Phone sex, Skype sex, slapping or spanking, pinching, and discussing where. So, discussing the body parts that are definitely off limits for certain things. Watching porn together, etc. If you're going to be including toys and lubes, this is the kind of negotiation that you want to have. So you're going to talk about materials and ingredients that you're sensitive or allergic to, or that you don't like. What ingredients turn you on. And of course, if you don't know, you're going to buy a few, get a few, and explore and experiment. Things that you would not touch with a 10-foot pole. So the things that are, all right, no, not happening. All right. Once again, these are guidelines that really help to concretize what you're going to be trying and how you're going to be approaching this new and exciting sex. And for those who are a little artsy or who want to draw, want to be a little more creative, this space here, what turns me on, you can put pictures here, you can draw things here, things that you like to try. When you exchange sheets, you may be surprised at what your partner might want to try. You might be thinking, I wanted to try that too, but I thought he would have judged me, so I didn't say anything. Right, so a nice discovery exercise. And this is, of course, talking about language. There's sometimes certain words, turn us off or may take us back to a space where we don't want to go. And so you can also talk about the language here. Please refer to my gender as, please refer to my genitals as. It's acceptable to refer to my genitals as. When I want you to keep going, I will say. So once again, what are you saying so your partner knows you have full consent, green light to go forward. When I want to check in, I will say this. When you want me to stop, hearing the following makes sense to me. So once again, you want to make sure that you're on the same page and that your communication is very clear because you've actually written it down and discussed it. So when I say this, I know. When I say this, you know what I mean. When you say this, I know what you mean, right? So checking in. Talking about fantasies. During sex, I like to image or imagine. During sex, I like to imagine you, And of course, here are different things for your boundaries, things that you're absolutely not going to try and you'll cross them out. So cross out, whatever it is. And spaces, of course, to add things that you might want that you want to indicate this is something I'm not going to do. So this is where do you draw the line? What are your boundaries? Right? And this is another way of what that you'll do together. Things I'm into, things you're into, and then where do we cross? Where do we intersect? Things that we both want to try, that we're going to explore. All right, folks. So just a few minutes to, I'm going to scroll through some of the comments. This was class. This was sex class tonight. And the next show would be chance for you to ask all the questions about this topic. So next week is going to be a follow-up on this. Right? Don't forget my tech manager telling me don't forget to like and subscribe and share, please. Lots of information here that lots of people would find very helpful and very useful. Let's see. Right. So, all right, folks. So I'm going to take a quick scroll through the comments, just see what people are saying. Shakuntala, have a nice genital name. Just make sure your partner is comfortable with Shakuntala, please. You don't just be calling. People genitals by any random name that you like. Ooh, or roti, somebody's roti skin. Is that your safe word? Is that your boundaries that you do to know when to do more or when to stop? I'm not sure what roti skin is. Let's see. Okay, this is X-rated conversation here. I'm not even going to pull this in. There are no comments in here that I want to highlight. People having their own discussion happening here. Let's see. Charlie can't go in the factory. Is that a euphemism for something? Oh, Fidel asks, do women actually use vegetables? Okay, I'm going to bring this across. Oops. Here we go. Do women actually use vegetables to masturbate sometimes? Yes. Short answer. Yes. And I recommend whatever you're using, toy or vegetable, that you put a condom over it, infections, etc. But yes, some women do. If you're very, very sure the vegetable is, clean and can, I wouldn't chance it. But if, there's some people who use vegetables and they cook it and they eat it after. It's a thing with some people, right? Okay, let's see what else is here. Whipped cream lap dance. No fruits in the sugar bowl. So you want to make sure that nothing that has sugar gets into the vaginal passage. That encourages yeast infections, right? So if you're going to bring it near the genitals at all, let it stay on the outside along the lips. You want to make sure that nothing is seeping into the vaginal passage itself. Let's see what else is here. No, it's just level misbehavior on this. KS Tobago, I'm now seeing the chat. I was focusing on my teaching role and making sure people get information. So no, I'm now seeing the slackness here. Cherise Martin, you have a question. You want to type in your question again so I can respond to it? Cherise says ways you can discover. Right, so I showed that. That is with those worksheets and those forms, and I spoke about the extragenital matrix at the beginning, where you simply using different body parts on somebody else's body part, and you go to also explore different kinds of touch. So do you trying like tapping on different parts of the body? Is it a pattern? Do you want to try different angles when it comes to massage? Do you want to try working with friction? And you're going to be doing this all over the entire body. So that is a physical discovery and rediscovery. The questions that I just shared would be about the emotional and the mental discovery and fantasies. What people like, where their boundaries are, where they and their partner are on the same page, things like that. You have a problem with the sequence of events. Do they cook the vegetables before they use it or after? It's usually after, because when you cook it, it's not firm. Okay? When you cook it, it's not firm enough, and it probably will not do the job. Come on. Oh my goodness. Right, Cherise, did I answer your question? And Fidel, is it literal table sugar? Any kind of sugar. Just don't put sugar in the sugar bowl. Okay, no sugar in the sugar bowl. How about a full tab behind the KS Tobago? Once again, as I indicated, this is a negotiation. You're gonna ask your partner. You will negotiate how hard tap they may or may not want. Yes. Where can we get a worksheet? You can come see me. You can sign up for sessions with Onika to get the worksheets. Okay, so. Okay, my beautiful people, thank you so much for being in today's sex class. Think about all the things we discussed tonight and spoke about tonight, so that for next session, which will be the same topic, we will be just doing straight Q&A. There wouldn't be a presentation. I'll have it to pull up things just to remind you of what we spoke about. But yeah, you can ask. Oh, okay, hold on. My tech manager is telling me things I'm forgetting. Yes, go ahead.
Links for the websites are in the description. Will be.
Oh, right. Links for the websites that I share, I will put them in the description. All right, so that you can follow up on those on your own. Yeah, Onika, take nothing I say seriously. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so. And once again, thank you so much, folks, for joining me on Thursdays with Onika, where we talk about sex, more sex, and even more sex. Do enjoy the rest of your evening, your morning, your afternoon, wherever in the world that you are. And I look forward to connecting with you again next week. Same time, same place. All right, folks. Right. Let me hope that I'm going to go to the right scene after. Is this the right scene?
That's it.
You know, oh, that's it. Oh, sorry.